Welcome to Lecture 4 for Lesson 24. Cap and trade requires firms to have permits issued by the government to emit an externality and allows firms to trade these permits among themselves. The number of permits caps how much of the externality firms may emit. The government can reduce pollution by issuing permits for only the amount of pollution it deems acceptable. As the number of permits decreases, the amount of pollution also decreases. The cap puts a cap on pollution. Let's use carbon emissions as our example. Suppose that the government determines that the socially efficient level of carbon emissions is 50 tons. It could then create and distribute 10,000 permits where each permit allows a producer to emit 1 pound of carbon. 10,000 pounds equals 50 tons. The government could distribute the permits in a number of allocation mechanisms. It could distribute them evenly among manufacturing firms. It could allocate them according to what experts say is needed, with more permits going to firms and industries that both emit large amounts of carbon and cannot reduce emissions easily, and fewer permits going to firms or industries that either emit little carbon or can reduce emissions easily. A third option is to use an auction to sell the permits. This option creates revenues that the government could use to compensate bystanders hurt by the externality. Cap and trade policies have been used successfully before. Cap and trade policies have reduced emissions for SOx, that is sulfur dioxide, in the United States power plants by about 50%. The Obama administration's recent proposal for emissions limits on coal-fired power plants was also a cap and trade program. Cap and trade is an efficient way to reduce pollution. The ability to trade permits creates incentives for firms to reduce pollution where the cost is lowest. Very simply, if the price of a permit to emit a pound of pollution is greater than the cost to emit a pound, the firm will eliminate the pollution and sell the permit. If the price of a permit to emit a pound of pollution is less than the cost to emit a pound, the firm will choose to emit and will buy the permit. This means that the firms that have low cost of emitting pollution will tend to eliminate it, and firms with high cost to eliminate pollution will pollute. We may not like the pollution, but at least we're eliminating or reducing pollution in an efficient fashion. Let's walk through an example. Suppose firm A has a permit to emit a pound of pollution and can eliminate that pound by paying $50 in additional cost. Firm B does not have a permit and must pay $15 to eliminate its last pound of pollution. Since the cost of reducing the last pound at firm A is less than the cost of reducing the next pound at firm B, both firms benefit when firm A sells a permit to B for a price between $10 and $15. If the firms agree on a price of $12.50, firm A receives $12.50 and pays $10 to eliminate 1 more pound of pollution. Firm B pays $12.50, emits another pound of pollution, and avoids paying $15 to eliminate it. The amount of pollution is still equal to the number of permits, and the total cost of reducing emission falls by $5, the difference between the 15 and the 10. Another advantage of cap and trade is the government can reduce the amount of pollution by buying permits in the permit market. Anyone, government or an environmental group, can reduce pollution by going in and buying permits and simply not using them. As the number of permits decreases, the amount of pollution also decreases. That concludes our lesson.